I am the Nature Hacker, and this is your world. Today I want to talk about making a revolutionary product. So, there's a lot of different goals you can have for making a product. You could make an exciting product. You could make a relevant product. You could make a new product. You could make an innovative product, etc. But you're not going to make a revolutionary product unless you really have a knack for the basics. Unless you are incredibly idealistic. There's several things that you need to nail down to make a product revolutionary, and I'm going to be the first to admit that it's hard to do this, sometimes maybe impossible for certain products, like products that I make. I mean, some of the products that I make, a lot of them, you can't do all this stuff. But you try to apply these principles in a way that you can do. You try to. Anyway, well, let's jump into it. What I'm gonna do here is I'm going to list the things that you need to do. I'm gonna list the things that you don't need to do, that you might think you need to do but you don't. Then I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself and how how I figured this out or whatever. And then I'm gonna explain each of these. And I'm going to give you some sample products that you can look at, revolutionary products, and what a revolutionary product looks like in the marketplace, how you can determine that a product is revolutionary, etc. So let me just list these. It has to be inexpensive. It has to be cheap or free. In the case of like Linux is free. Hint, that's one of these things to look at. One of the revolutionary products is Linux. So aside from inexpensive, that's just one piece of the puzzle. The second piece needs to be modular / replaceable. So Linux itself is replaceable. Like you could take Linux out of your operating system, plug in a new kernel, and it will run. You could pop out GNU from Linux, pop in a code that you write and it will run, or somebody else can write a thing for it. So it's modular, it's replaceable. Another thing is it's repairable. It's like if one piece breaks, you don't have to replace everything. You can just replace that one broken piece. Like a car, you have to take 1,000 things off. A modern car, take 1,000 things off just to be able to replace your starter motor, for example. So a good car design would be the starter motor, bam, it's right there. All you have to do to replace it is take it out, plug in a new one. You don't have to take out 1,000 things to just access it. So a good car design would be modular in that way, which is hard to find nowadays. It needs to be innovative. It needs to solve a problem that nothing else has been able to solve on the market. It needs to be innovative. If it's not, it's just not going to have enough momentum to be able to do much. And it needs to be complete and functional out of the box. People need to be able to open up the box, plug it in or whatever, install it, and it needs to work 100% totally. It can't be missing anything. Like Linux, like the most popular Linux distributions are Mint and Ubuntu. You install it, bam, you can do whatever you normally would. You have Office, you have Internet, you have all that stuff. So it needs to be functional out of the box. Now, what does it not need to do? It doesn't need to be high quality. I get in this trap a lot. I want things to be high quality. And you know what? I'm going to make things high quality. I'm going to tack that little requirement onto what I do, because that's what I like to do. But you know what? It doesn't have to be high quality. What's more important than high quality is inexpensive. The reason why that is because if it's modular, if each piece is replaceable, if somebody wants a higher quality version, they'll buy your basic version and they'll install high quality upgrades. Like for example, I'm making sandals. Okay, now let's say I'm using rope as the lace, which I do. So that's not that high quality. If somebody wants leather straps, fine, they can buy my sandals. The rope is so cheap. It's like it probably adds like 50 cents a buck onto the price of the sandals. So it's inconsequential to have just install rope on all of them, and if they want an upgrade, they can do that later or add it or whatever. So it doesn't need to be high quality. It just needs to be modular and inexpensive, and also complete and innovative. Alright, so it does not need to be high quality, which is a big thing. It doesn't need to be optimized. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't have to be if you're making a computer, it doesn't have to be the fastest thing on the market. It doesn't have to have the most RAM on the market. It doesn't have to have the fastest processor. If you can make a good product, you can make an innovative product by making it the fastest thing on the market, but you're not going to make a revolutionary product that way. You're just not. What's more important than optimized is inexpensive. That's why we don't even have to worry about optimized. It doesn't have to have the perfect of everything. It just has to be inexpensive. It has to be modular. It has to be innovative. It has to be complete. That is it. What we're doing is we're creating a base. We're creating a foundation that other people can build on. And that's the difference between a revolutionary product and a good product, a exciting product, a new product is good for the person making it. Sure, they'll make some sales. They'll get a niche in the market. Some people will come to them to buy it, right? A revolutionary product creates an industry. It creates an entire new industry that revolves around your product. That doesn't happen very often. That is a revolutionary product. Not many people can even realize that some products are that. I mean, this is kind of an inspiration to what is actually happening out there. So what we have to do is we have to create a base, we have to create a foundation that other people can build on. Like Linux, for example. That's probably one of the best examples you can think of in the modern age. Is they create something that's inexpensive, it's free, it's modular, which means that it has pieces. If one piece breaks, you can change it, or if you want to upgrade one piece, you can do that. It's modular, replaceable, repairable. Okay, it's innovative. The way it's innovative is it's a new operating system. It's very. It can be as slim as you want it to be. It's open source. Open source is huge. Actually, that's one of these big things. It does need to be open source, or at least easily reverse engineerable. So Linux open source. It needs to be innovative, and it is innovative. It's innovative because it's user adaptable. Microsoft. It's very closed. You can't do much with it. Developers can't really manipulate the OS and release their own versions. You just can't. It's illegal or whatever. So it's innovative. It's complete. It's functional out of the box. You can download Linux, and it works. And it's open source. So Linux is a great. It's not necessarily high quality. Linux is not necessarily higher quality than Windows. Windows might be more polished than Linux, and it's not necessarily optimized. It is what it is, and you can throw on a new desktop, you can throw on a GNOME desktop, you can throw on KDE or whatever. Not necessarily the best of it. It's not necessarily the best, but it's creating that base, creating that foundation, and allowing other developers to come in and use it as a foundation. That's the most important thing. So Linux has created a whole new industry. It wasn't just one product that could make Linus, the guy who wrote it, rich or successful or whatever. It makes it so that thousands of people around the world can create a job by modifying it or adapting it or tweaking it or releasing stuff for it. So you're not just creating a product, you're creating an industry, you're creating a revolution. Another example is the 1022. I believe it's Ruger 1022. It's a 22 rifle. It's not that high quality. All the pieces, are kind of junky. It's not optimized. It's not even really put together all that with high tolerances or anything. But what it is it's inexpensive. It's modular, replaceable. Each part can be replaced. So if one part breaks, you don't have to, break the whole thing apart and take everything apart. Like, you don't need an expert mechanic to fix it. You just pop that part off, replace it or repair it or whatever, and boom, you're right back in the game. What that also means is that people can make upgraded parts. That part is not the highest quality thing on the market. They opted for inexpensiveness, which I think is important. It's an imperative, really, to do. Sometimes you can do high quality and inexpensive, and when you can do both, do it. But if you have to err on one side, err on the inexpensive side. And so, somebody can make a nice machined aluminum part for it. And, if somebody wants an upgraded trigger, they can buy that nice machined version, plug it on, and boom, you got an upgrade. But it doesn't need to be perfect from the beginning. It just needs to be easily upgradable. And that's creating business. I mean, not only are you creating money for yourself by people buying your rifle, but then, you're creating jobs for people to be their own boss and to make upgrades for your product. So it's beautiful like that. The 1022 is innovative because it's modular and because it's inexpensive and blah, blah, blah. So, innovative just might be these other things in a lot of cases. A complete functional out of box, if you can buy a 1022 for cheap, just shoot, it works. Open source, I mean, it's not necessarily they don't give you the design drawings, but it's easily reverse engineerable. And it would be nice if they gave you like dimensions of every part. That way, developers can just easily make upgrades for it. So that would be ideal to make it open source. So it's not high quality, it's not optimized, but it creates that foundation for an entire industry to spring up. And clones of the 1022 and upgraded parts and community of people that all use it and they interact with each other. So it's important. Another thing is Raspberry Pi. I mean, I'm not really all that hip to the Raspberry Pi, but like, let's compare it to like Mac. I don't like Mac, and why don't I like Mac? It's not because I don't like the layout and the programs or whatever, because it's closed source. I just don't like it because I feel like if something breaks, I don't know how to fix it. If things are not replaceable, I can't customize it exactly how I want. So that's why I don't like Mac. But something like a Raspberry Pi, everything's open source. Everything's out there on the table. New developers can jump in, make a new thing for Raspberry Pi, whether it be hardware, whether it be software. It's all open source. It's modular, it's inexpensive, it's innovative, it's complete and functional, it's open source. So all that stuff's important. If you want to make a revolutionary product, if you want to change the world, you have to make revolutionary products. And when you do that, you're creating jobs for people. You're creating a whole new industry. You're creating communities. I bet people who work on Linux, they've met their spouses by both working on Linux. So you're creating a whole new world, a whole new industry, a whole new way for people to make money, a whole new way for people to meet people, a whole new just base for people's lives or whatever. You're changing the world. You are literally changing the world. So you have to make revolutionary products. The way you do it is you start making it inexpensive. That's priority number one. Priority number two is it has to be modular, replaceable, repairable. It has to be easily repairable, easily replaceable. It needs to be innovative. It needs to be something new, fulfilling a need that hasn't been fulfilled. It needs to be complete and functional out of the box. And it should be open source. It needs to be open source. It does not need to be high quality. It does not need to be optimized. It doesn't need to be the best at anything. It just needs to have all of those previous things. Rewind it if you need. I am the Nature Hacker. Go and do work.